Hi guys, this is Mohit Mostani from ScreenBinge.com, and today we have Mr. Joe DeAngelis. He's an attorney based in New York, and he's been practicing law, especially in the entertainment industry, and that's why I thought it would be a great fit to have him, because we as an audience know what's on the screen, but we don't know about what happens and all the processes behind the screen. The distribution rights, the intellectual property. What is intellectual property? I'm sure a lot of you might not even know that. Or copyrights, and how can you dodge copyrights, and how people dodge copyrights, and all that kind of little things that we as viewers don't ever think about or know. But I believe this will be a very insightful interview, and at the end of the interview, I and my audience, you guys, will gain a lot of insights from Joe. Joe's been practicing for a good time, and he's been involved in massive projects. So it was a real big deal to get Joe on the table, and we did. So yeah, thank you, Joe, for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Mohit. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of shed some light on the not always so interesting portion of the entertainment industry.
Of course.
Most people see that you've got these flashy movies, graphics, names, all those kind of things, but no one really ever thinks about the legal side of things. And in reality, if you don't have those legal things in place, you don't get those flashy movies or those big names.
Exactly.
So, when you'd asked me to do this, I was trying to think about what kind of theme is important for a viewer, not only a viewer as someone who simply consumes media, but also maybe somebody who's producing. And a lot of these rules and cultural phenomenon that I'm going to talk about from a legal perspective applies not only to the individual indie content creator on YouTube or whatever platform you're on, TikTok, but also to the big budget movie screen. So, some of the main takeaways that I think about when I talk to my entertainment clients are, first being, you want to advocate for yourself. A lot of times people will just rush into things. They look at the dollar signs. They look at the names that people are putting in front of them. Maybe it's a celebrity you've seen before. And, and by the way, Mohit, I want to congratulate you on all the success you've had on Screen Binge. I was going through a lot of your prior interviews, and you've got some notable names. I've definitely recognized a lot of them, and the ones that I didn't, that I clicked through, had very interesting things to say. So I kind of feel in the minority here that I don't have any sort of household name.
But no, it's such a pleasure, and I have so much respect for you to come here for the interview, because you're not an actor or actress or a singer who would mint money from this kind of promotion. It's right. You who's coming to educate us, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's for me, it's partially about just kind of having the passion for that industry.
Exactly.
But also, I like helping people understand things. If I wasn't a lawyer, I'd probably be a teacher, honestly.
Wow.
A school teacher or a professor, something like that, if they'd have me, of course. So, and the reason why I kind of took that step is I like to have the ability to teach people to kind of fight for themselves and to fight for them, which kind of goes to my first point of my major theme. So advocate for yourself. Make sure you step back and you think about what your worth is to the industry.
Exactly.
If you're just starting out, you might not have a ton of capital, so to speak. You might not have a ton of experience or a name that's well known or even any money to invest in anything. You know,
Right.
even wardrobe sometimes can be expensive.
Of course.
But that doesn't mean you don't have something to offer. And, you know, simply being in the room discussing the potential for a project means that somebody thinks you're worth something.
Is it?
In that respect, obviously we're all worth something to somebody in some respect, but
Of course.
in the entertainment world. The second kind of major takeaway I want to talk about today is get it in writing. Don't ever just walk into a room, sit down at the negotiating table, and talk about the deal and then walk away and assume everything's going to be interpreted or kept the same as how you discussed it.
Yeah.
Always get it in writing.
Yeah.
You know, even if that simply means a napkin, on the back of a napkin, you
Yeah.
get two people to sign something. I'll talk a little more a little later on about those
Yeah.
kind of ways you can do that in an efficient manner, you know, because quite frankly, we all can't afford lawyers early on. We all can't afford to have a team of professionals, you know, there for every single deal. But I'm going to give you some kind of helpful tips so that you can do it efficiently.
Yeah.
And it goes right into my third point. Get your team of professionals early on.
Yeah.
You know, that means your lawyer, your CPA. So in America, I don't know about where you are, but we call them certified public accountants. Your money people, your numbers people.
Right.
Get yourself a banker. That's important too. Because, you know, they're going to help you move your funds around. You know, let's say you make $10,000 off of one project. You've got to make that stretch until the next project, right? So you can live and you can invest in your future. So it's really important. You know, you hear, I'm sure, Muhaid, you've heard about celebrities who make, you know, $10 million playing in the National Football League in America. And they make a lot of money and they're in the prime time. But
Yeah.
5 years later, you know, they get cut from the team and you hear them filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
You know,
So
that's
many
simple.
times. I mean, Michael Jackson was
Yep,
bankrupt.
yep,
Like
yep.
someone as great. Someone
Wesley
as great.
Snipes. You know who Wesley Snipes is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who did Blade there. He filed for bankruptcy. Who was another one recent? There's a country star that also filed for bankruptcy. And you got to ask yourself, how can these people lose this kind of money?
Exactly.
And it's simply because they didn't have a team of professionals that can suggest to them how to work with the money they have. And that's a super important point that I have to hammer home.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of celebrities have their business managers along with them when they go out for shopping and all, and they've got insane money, right? Hundreds
Right.
of millions of dollars and all.
Right.
So they usually ask their business manager, "Can I buy this? Can I buy this? Can I
Yep.
buy this?" And they're like, "Yeah, you're good to go. You can take this."
Yeah, it sounds funny that, you know, you're asking another adult to approve what you spend,
Yeah.
but, you know, that's super important to get into early on, because if you go wild, you know, yeah, you should be able to splurge a little bit,
Yeah.
but if you go wild, that bank account's going to drain quickly, and you never know when the next project's going to come.
And
So,
anything
you
can
know,
happen, like maybe you're an A-lister star and something happens, let's say something in the sorts of Johnny Depp's case happens, and by the way, I'm glad that Johnny did not kind of lose and it's still going on, but
Sure.
it in such a situation you lose a lot of money, right?
Yeah, I mean, litigation, you know, lawsuits and bankruptcy, they have price tags more than you probably can imagine.
Yeah.
And every lawsuit is different too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't even want to begin to go down that road without kind of explaining, you know, these kind of
Right.
basic principles so that you can avoid all that, right?
Right.
So, you know, and like I said before, the size of the project doesn't really matter when it comes to legal, when it comes to the law and how the law views your liability, right? You could be a large project or a small project. Your liability will be the same. Your protections need to be the same. So I guess the first major area I want to start with is the contract negotiations, right? Everybody always hears about these fancy big boardrooms with giant oak desks and there's 10
Yeah,
people in there.
yeah.
And, to be honest, in reality, that's not how most deals are done. Most deals are done over a quick
Cafes?
cocktail. What's that?
Cafes?
Cafes, yeah, I was just gonna say a coffee house or cafe.
Yeah,
One other person, and they've got, because you got to remember, every single deal you go into, they have their own set of budget that they have to deal with. If you're working with a producer or just a film investor in general, they're gonna have X amount of dollars that they've dedicated to this project, and you're just a line item.
right.
You're one item on that list of expenses. So, uh, you know, sometimes you might think that you're worth a lot more than what they're offering, but you have to also come from their perspective too.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you should give up easily and that you should just kind of accept their first offer. My first major point is, it's always a good idea to at least find an attorney or an agent early on. And,
Yeah.
and entertainment lawyers and agents do operate a little bit different. They don't perform the exact same function.
Right.
Your agent is generally, and this is in America, I don't know about a lot of other,
Yeah.
I know a little bit about Canada and the UK, but, here, and I would imagine it's generally the same culture elsewhere,
Yeah. Yeah.
your agent really kind of fights for your rights on a personal level
Exactly.
with the other party, so the producers or the investors, even the director sometimes.
Yeah.
And the entertainment lawyer generally worries about the nitty gritty in the contracts, right? They
Exactly.
look at, okay, if 10 years down the road from now, there's a large litigation or lawsuit over this project, how is my client protected, right? The agent is generally more concerned about what kind of money are you getting right now, how are you treated on set, what budget you have. I had a client. This kind of segues into my first example of this. I had a client who was working with a very big, and I cleared this with him. He told me I could talk about it. He's a shark researcher. Muhammad, have you heard of Discovery Channel?
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're huge, right? And Travel Channel.
I grew up watching that, man.
Yeah, so I actually have a client.
24/7, that would be Discovery or National Geographic. These
What
two.
what uh what favorite animals did you have?
Oh, I'm a pet lover. I've had a cat for 18 years. She passed.
18?
Yeah, 18 years.
Oh,
She
that's
passed.
impressive.
She passed away last April.
So the reason why I bring this up is because I have a client who deals with pets a lot, except for the pets he deals with
Yeah.
are giant and they're in the water and they're sharks.
Oh.
And he is a shark researcher that actually films segments for Discovery Channel Shark Week. So if you ever watch Shark Week, you may have seen him on there actually. His name's Paul Clerkin. But
Okay.
the reason why I bring him up is because early on in his career, he was just a researcher at a west coast of the U.S. Research university, and he kind of got approached by different networks, so to speak. There were different sizes. It wasn't the Discovery Channel immediately, but we got into it, and he
Can
gave
you
me this
hear?
contract.
Can you hear my dog barking?
I heard that a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's an Italian Labrador.
Let me see if my guy's over here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Well, he was scratching at the door. Now he's not. But I was at the office. I rushed home to film this with you.
Oh.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so the reason why I bring it all up, because on his very first contract that was actually worth something, they had a per diem of around $25 a day for food. Okay, and he was just about to sign it, and he emails me. He goes, Joe, what do you think about this contract? He goes, I don't have a lot of money to go line by line and pay for a lot of time for this. Can you take a quick look? So I quickly scanned through it, and I found this $25. Now, Paul had no idea what the going rate for per diem is in general, right, for food and lodging, get alone on the ocean in a giant ocean lining fishing boat, right?
Right.
I mean, these boats are like 60 feet long, and you're out in the middle of the ocean with nothing else going on.
Right.
You can't exactly stop in a McDonald's and grab a burger. So your food's going to be expensive, right? So I said to him, I go, Paul, you got to up this amount. And he
Yeah.
goes, what do you mean? I said, well, think about $25 a day in a big city in general is not enough money for 3 meals. I
True.
mean, you're shooting 12 to 15-hour days sometimes, right? And he goes, I never thought about that. He goes, I just looked at the paycheck at the end of it and how nice that was. I go, yeah, but do you have the money to float yourself every single day of a 9 to 12-month shoot on $25 a day?
Yeah.
No, not really. And this particular project was not giving him a stipend up front, or a signing bonus, or any of those kind of upfront payments.
Yeah.
So I said, you need to ask for a little more. And he honestly asked for $75 a day, and they gave it to him like that. So he just tripled the amount of money he got for each day,
Yeah.
just by asking. It was really just an oversight, excuse me,
Yeah.
an oversight from the producer that kind of quickly drafted the contract for him.
Right.
And many people don't think that you have the power to negotiate. Well, you do.
Yes.
The other reason why you want to check with an attorney quickly is, they can protect you from unknowingly breaching your contracts, right?
True.
So they read it kind of line by line. They look for the standard boilerplate language that can kind of be a trap for you almost. So you want to run it by them. And the other important issues are with your name and your likeness. You may not be a big name right now, but after this project, after the next project, after the third project, your social capital, your actual worth in the entertainment industry is going to skyrocket, hopefully, right? You don't want to sign away your name and your likeness on the first project, because there are some clauses or some paragraphs in these agreements that say, okay, for the next 5 years, we're the only ones that are going to be allowed to market you for things like an action film or a shark, just the documentary, or a sitcom, things like that. You're not allowed to post on social media without our approval. These are real contracts. These are real paragraphs you have to think about, because in this day and age of quickly posting things on the internet, we don't think about that until all of a sudden, a lawsuit shows up at our door in the mail.
Yeah.
And we're being brought into court for tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars.
Yeah, a lot of celebrities make that mistake, and sometimes post something on Instagram or Twitter, and then they're like, "Oh my God, I wasn't supposed to reveal that."
Yep.
That
A lot of
happens
people.
That happens a lot.
It's crazy, and because you just want to have fun, right? You're just trying to post. You're trying to get your name out there. You're trying to further your personal brand, but we also have to think that the bigger companies have their own brands to protect, and they've got the purse, they've got the money, so they're the ones that are going to tell you what to do, and you have to abide by those rules. But before you agree to play the game, before you sign that contract, quickly talk to an attorney. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars with them. A quick review is okay. So again, make sure you're getting it in writing. Don't ever rely on other people's words. You'd be amazed at how many clients come to me and they say that they're doing large deals, large projects, $100,000, $10,000 deal, whatever, based on a handshake alone. You want to make sure that you're getting everything in writing. You want to cover yourself. Use your team. Use the banker, the accountant, your agent, your lawyer. It might not help. It might not be a bad idea to try to set up a mentorship program too, between you and a more experienced actor or producer or director.
Of course.
Based on what you're doing, or in your case, even an interviewer or a reporter, something like that.
Yeah.
People love to hear themselves talk about themselves. So, it's a quick, hey, I'm new in the industry. I'd love to have a quick phone call just to kind of understand how you started your career. And so many people will take 20 minutes to an hour out of their day just to kind of give you their story. And you can learn a lot from that.
True.
So,
when I started this interview thing, one of my senior colleagues came up to me and said, listen Mohit, if you change even a single letter, let the celebrity or the interviewee know that you've done that, because
Yep.
even a single word can, result in a lawsuit.
Yep. Yep.
Even though it
Uh,
might mean the same thing, it might
right.
have the same implication and everything, but if you change anything that he or she says,
Yep.
you're gonna be in trouble. So never ever change anything, and if you want to
Yep.
change anything, ask for permission.
I actually did an interview a few months ago,
Right.
and it was a great interview. The reporter was very respectful of my time and how to present me, and I think I brought some value to her product at the end. And when she initially posted the article quoting me, she said that I specialized in entertainment law.
Yeah.
And what's funny is lawyers have in New York, where I'm from, lawyers have a very specific ethical set of rules we have to play by.
Right.
We actually cannot come out and say that we specialize in anything.
Right.
We can say that we practice or we focus in that area. We can't say we
Yeah.
specialize. It's literally in the rules. So I had to immediately contact her and say, can you please take this down and change this wording? So that one word made a big difference for my career.
Right.
I could have gotten in trouble for that. And you don't know the other industries that have those special kind of rules and how they might affect people. So yeah, it's definitely important to make sure that everybody's on the same page before anything happens.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes to my next point here is, you want to cover yourself. Even if you can't use a lawyer for every single issue, try to get the major terms spelled out in an email, even, right, in a written document. And if you can't do that because it's too quick and fleeting, get a text message.
True.
Send a quick text message, use WhatsApp, whatever it might be, and just kind of, hey, we kind of both agree on the shoot or the project will take 9 months. We're going to average about 20 hours a week to work on it each. I will be fulfilling the role of X. You'll be fulfilling the role of Y. And the pay, you'll compensate me for this much. And it might feel weird to do that. But what you're kind of doing is not only are you protecting yourself legally, but you're making it less awkward down the road when you guys aren't sure about who's doing what, right? So if you're both camera people and you're shooting something, but one of you has more post-production experience and the other one has more marketing experience, but you don't discuss these things in a writing, you guys might not understand who's doing what, right? So it's really good to get those, even in a text message. Obviously, I recommend getting a proper agreement contracted out by a lawyer, but I understand that small projects, you don't have that kind of budget sometimes.
True. Definitely, everything written is, it's a good idea to have everything written, because even if the other person might not have an ill intention, he or you yourself might forget a clause that you discussed about. So it's always good to write down things. That's what we do at work as well. We don't really accept anything that we verbally communicate between colleagues. We say, just Skype it to me so that we have a record, and I don't get confused and you don't get confused, and I know exactly what we are gonna do. So that helps a lot.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that people won't even get it in writing, but even when they do get it in writing, here's where the lawyers kind of come in. This is kind of my job as an entertainment lawyer, is even if you write that 4 or 5 sentence paragraph in Skype, for example, what you say as one thing might mean something different to somebody else, and it might mean an entirely third different scenario to the law, right? So, but if you get it in writing, at least then it's better than just having it kind of in the air of the verbal, of the verbal communication. It's a step in the right direction. It's definitely not the final solution, but it's definitely a good step in the right direction. And when you're at, the next point is when you're at the negotiation table, make sure you're asking questions. Don't be afraid. Don't say, "Oh, these people, took their time. I'm so lucky to even be here. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to take everything they."
Yeah.
No, here's the thing. If they're willing to invest an hour with you, they're probably willing to invest the time to answer your questions, and they
True.
probably like that you're asking questions because it
Yeah.
shows that you're invested in the project.
True.
Uh, Another thing is, when you're doing these kind of handshake deals at a coffee house or a cafe or a bar, make sure you're checking IDs before you sign anything. I've had a number of representations where the client thought they were signing an agreement with one party. We'll call him Bob, right? But Bob's actual name was Timothy, right? So if that contract is signed by Bob Smith, for example, it's a very common name in America, and his real name is Timothy Jones,
Yeah.
and you go to sue Timothy Jones is going to go, well, I never signed that. Bob Smith signed that.
Right.
You want to get the ID and you want to check it. And if you feel awkward about that, if it feels weird to, kind of do that, blame it on your lawyer.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, my lawyer is making me check IDs. He won't
Yeah.
represent me unless I do that.
Yeah.
And most people will just be like, here you go. And if they don't hand it over to you quickly, you should probably ask why. Why are they so cautious about that?
True.
Those are really important considerations.
Yeah.
So some other things are, make sure that you have the party you're getting let's say the music from, right, in your film or your project. Make sure they have the rights to use that, because once you get on screen with that, right, once you get going this process. So for example, and not to put you on the spot, Muhid, but I have no idea if that green background you're using right now was actually created by you, right? I never said to you, are all the intellectual property assets that you're using for this interview owned by you?
Yeah.
Show me some proof, right? It would be kind of hard for you to prove that. You probably made it yourself or hired somebody, but if you did,
Yeah.
right, now I'm associated with the green background. That could be something you stole off the internet. I don't know.
Yeah.
And once my name's associated with it, somebody could sue me for it if they own the copyright. So, for bigger assets,
So they
like
would sue
soundtracks,
you?
so they may. It's unlikely, but when you're a lawyer, you try to sue everybody that has any connection with it that's realistic, right? Because you got to find the people with the deep pockets, right, who have the money. Otherwise, what's the point of the lawsuit at all?
True.
So yes, I have had clients that have been named in pieces. It's usually for music or for video clips, where somebody used a significant portion of a prior work,
Right.
and they don't really have fair use rights. I'm sure you've heard of fair use, obviously. And they just use it, and then they just sue everybody that's involved with it. Now, your lawyer should be able to get you out of that lawsuit pretty quickly,
Yeah.
but you're still being bothered by that.
Of
So,
course.
if it's a big asset, you want to get something in writing that either that shows that they own it, or a contract between you and them that says, if it's called an indemnification clause, to use ridiculous language, that says, if you get sued, Muhid, you promise that you'll cover me because I had nothing to do with that green background, right? So those are kind of important
I'll
things
cover
to think.
you, Joe. I'll cover you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not recording this. You are, so I'll have to take your word for it. But other things in that vein, in that respect, are if you're filming, you want to get the municipality or the city or the town to approve the permit spot, right? You need to get filming permits often.
Right.
And that goes for recording things, audio as well. You need to get those kind of permits too.
Yeah.
You need location licenses. So if you're in a private residence or a private property, even if it's a store, for example, what's a popular grocery store out by you?
Tesco.
Like, do you have any chain?
Tesco.
Say it again?
Tesco.
Costco.
Tesco.
Oh, Tesco. Okay. So Tesco, you're in Tesco and you're filming. They have a right to tell you to not film and to get out.
Right.
And in reality, if you film something in there without their permission and they really get bent out of shape on it, they could file charges for trespassing.
Right.
So, because they're allowing you to be there as a customer, but not as a movie maker,
Movie maker.
right?
Right.
And that can be trespassing. So, those are different kind of standards you need to meet. And sometimes it's a quick phone call.
Yeah.
Most places are happy to have the publicity as long as you include their name.
Exactly.
Take the clearance. Some people say, well, it's better to, there's a saying, I'm sure there's something similar from where you are, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. I forget the exact adage, but in the law, that's not true. You could really get in trouble for doing some of these things. You got to kind of be careful about it. Another big area is getting written parental consent. So if you're dealing anything with children, you want to make sure that you get the consent of the parents. There's a lot of laws. I won't go into those. There's actually specialized child star, child entertainer lawyers that deal just with those.
Right.
Sponsorship deals. Try to get those early and often. Don't be afraid to reach out to smaller companies and ask them if they've got anything that they can give for a quick sponsorship. $500 here, $500 there for product placement, things like that. Don't be afraid to ask smaller companies.
Right.
So now I'll kind of get into the last portion here. Once you're providing a service to anybody, you want to make sure, whether it be in front of the camera or behind, you want to think about your liability as an individual. If something really goes wrong, can they get at my personal assets? Can they get at my house? Can they get at my car? Can they get at my retirement, my kids' college fund? Can they get at these things?
Right.
And there's a lot of ways you can limit that liability. One is through good contracting, of course, good agreements. But another way you can do it is through forming a business, actually. And in the U.S., especially in New York, it's very easy to form what we call a limited liability company, or an LLC.
Right.
Other countries have them as LTDs for limited.
Yeah.
What that does is it acts as an intermediary between you and the person suing you, so they can't get directly at you. So if I form an LLC called Joe D'Angelo
Like the
Law,
business is another entity and you're another entity.
exactly, and it just kind of
I'm a
puts that
business.
barrier.
I'm a business school graduate.
Oh yeah, there you go. So you completely understand it. Yep.
Yeah. I've worked in finance for a long time. I've worked in insurance for a long time, insurance underwriting and all that.
Oh wow, you're underwriting. That's complex stuff.
Yeah,
you?
insurance, medical underwriting.
Oh my, wow. So like malpractice insurance and lawsuits of that respect, you mean? Or loans?
No. Life insurance.
Oh, life insurance. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Interesting. Huh.
So that.
I bet you could do a whole episode on that on its own.
Yeah. So.
That's important too. Life insurance. That's a really good point that I didn't really think to bring up here.
You gotta get the
No.
life insurance when there
Yep.
are people on the set, and you should continue. I should.
Well, especially when you're dealing with, we'll use my client Paul there as an example.
Yeah.
He's jumping in the water with sharks.
Right.
Like, that's amazing, and very dangerous, obviously. So he wants to make sure he has insurance for that. And you also want insurance for other people on site as well. We're going a little long here, so I don't want to get too deep into that. But, always get those kind of things, or at least consider getting them. You want to make, educated decisions on whether or not you need those things. And,
Right.
and your accountant, your lawyer, and your banker can all help with those kind of things, and your mentor as well.
Right.
So, think about forming a business. If you're going to be a producer, a post-production editor, those kinds of things, because there's a lot of liability, especially for copyright and trademark law with those types of things, which leads me onto my last area, intellectual property matters. So that's copyright, trademark, and patents. Generally speaking, you're only really concerned with copyright and trademark matters
Uh-huh.
in the entertainment field. Do you know the difference between copyright and trademark?
Uh,
Not to put you on the spot here.
um, I believe copyright relates to uh, not like copyright protects your stuff from being copied, while trademark is your business name
Yeah, good
that
example.
that
So,
is that nobody can use, right? It's your business
right,
name. Yeah.
right, within limitations. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Got a
So
job for
you're.
me?
I'm sure we can find something useful for you to do. You've already got
I'll do a couple
experience.
of diplomas and come to New York, and I can work
Absolutely,
under you.
absolutely. We'll grab some coffee.
Yeah.
So, uh, a copyright, and I can bore you with the legalese of it. It's a an original work of authorship
Right.
fixed in a tangible medium.
Right.
And that's a lot of jargon to basically say it's a new thing that you put on paper
Right.
or in film or
Right.
recorded, whatever it might be.
Uh-huh.
And it's got to be an original idea. So it can't be somebody else's idea that they've already written down that you've kind of just copied over. And that's where fair use
Right.
comes in and all
Uh-huh.
that. Um, so when you're using things like a photo for your background
Right.
or this poster behind me, that is a copyrighted image. It's
Right.
a reproduction of a vintage poster when the Navy football team here in the U.S. went against the Cornell University. I went to Cornell University, so Cornell University's football team,
Right.
and that company went to the original artist or whoever owned the rights and then asked them, hey, can I reproduce this and print it and make money off of it?
Right.
And at the bottom of that, you'll see tiny little text that basically says that this is a reproduction. The original copyright is owned by so-and-so.
Yeah. Yeah.
This affects everything that's an image, everything that's a video. As soon as you hit record, that is a copyrighted, at least under U.S. law and most countries that I know of law. That's a copyrighted image,
Right.
and it's protected. So, you want to consider how your copyrighted works are going to be used, but also how you're using other people's works. And there's a lot of different ways to clear these things to make them legal. Generally, when you are part of a project and someone else is filming, whomever is filming that, whatever company or person is filming it, that's their work. It's not yours.
Right.
Even if you own the phone or the camera, for example, that is on there, generally speaking, the person taking the shot, filming it and framing it, they own it.
Uh-huh.
So, for example, right now with this interview, you own this copyright because you're the one recording it.
Right.
It would be interesting to argue about who owns it if we both recorded it. I think we would both have copyrights in our respective individual versions of it.
Right.
But yeah, that's why Zoom and all these kind of post-pandemic recording culture is going to blur the lines a lot,
Right.
especially in the U.S.
Uh-huh.
So that's copyright. Trademark is, just like you said, kind of like the name. It's your name, image, or likeness.
Right.
And it really, it shows the origin of the work or of the good or service.
Right.
So Screen Binge, right? At least in the U.S., you have it's called a common law trademark in Screen Binge because you've been using that logo and that name in connection with the service of, movie reviews, interviews related to the entertainment industry, things of that nature. And now you could get federal or even international protection. Well, international protection is kind of a misnomer. You really would get it in each country that you wanted protection in.
Right.
But you have some rights already. So it's important that you protect your brand, right? Anybody that's doing a project, it's important that you don't just quickly and freely give it away. You make sure that you're enforcing it.
Right.
Before you get started on anything,
Uh-huh.
make sure that you research your stage name, your company name, your platform name in your scenario.
Yeah.
And make sure that it's not being used or something similar is not being used. I've had many clients come to me because I do business formations as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they pick a name, they do business for 2 or 3 years, and all of a sudden in the mail they get what's called a cease and desist letter
Uh-huh.
because somebody else somewhere else is using the same name in the same industry, and now they're threatening to sue them basically unless they change their name. So now my client has to rebrand. They might have to pay some sort of settlement fee
Yeah.
to have that person go away and stop bothering them. They may actually get sued themselves. So
Yeah.
lawyers can actually help you with that process. We call it a knockout search.
Right.
And
Yep.
it's not too expensive, and it kind of just, I don't want to say clears the name, but it looks for problems with the name.
Right.
So if anything does arise,
Right.
you can find a better name or a different name.
Exactly.
And that's all part of the trademark process.
Uh-huh. So,
Yeah, so it's,
coming to copyrights, let's say like Red Bull, the name is copyrighted.
one more time, Red what?
Red Bull,
Oh, Red Bull, yeah, Red Bull, yeah.
the name is copyrighted or trademark.
So names cannot be copyrighted. They can be trademarked.
Right.
Uh,
Trademark.
your your so remember that definition I gave you of fixed and intangible medium, the original
Yeah.
expression?
Yeah.
The term expression has actually been litigated ad nauseum, or really a lot, in U.S. law and international law.
Mm.
So they've basically said that expression has to be more than just a few words. It's got to be an original idea that's in that fixed expression. So, it could be a few sentences. It's really hard to give a number. That's why people always ask me, well, if I'm a DJ and I'm sampling music on my mix track, how many seconds of a song can I use? And my answer is always, well, it depends. If you're taking the hook of the song, right, the popular portion of it,
Mm-hmm.
a lot less. You can only use, a few seconds to maybe 5 to 6 seconds. Again, I'm completely generalizing here.
Right.
But if you're taking the not as powerful parts of the song, the less recognizable parts of the song, you could probably use a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
DJ remixes are a whole nother topic, though. There's a lot of reasons why they even exist, why they're not being sued all the time.
Right.
It's basically a game of chicken between the recording industry and the DJs themselves.
Right.
So that's a whole nother issue. But it's the same idea for video too. You want to keep it short and simple to qualify for fair use.
Uh-huh.
Fair use is actually a defense. It's not actually a right that's given to you. It's a defense that you use when you are accused of copyright infringement.
Right.
And there's a whole, I could do a whole hour on that by itself. I won't go into that.
Uh-huh.
But so that's what I have. Those are my basic kind of, think about these things. The most important thing is to think critically about your scenario. Don't just go through the motions. Sit down, write out all your ideas, what's
Yeah.
going on when you're in the next project. Like I said, advocate for yourself. Get it in writing, even if it's simple writing, and get your team of professionals early on. If you hire them early and get them on retainer, you may be able to get away with, a few $1,000s or less per project, really less sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what professional it is. A lot of bankers don't even charge for their time. A lot of attorneys, lawyers, will give you, that free initial consultation to kind of get you going.
Exactly.
So we lay out your groundwork with the hopes that down the road you'll compensate us for our services. So yeah, using professionals does not have to be expensive if you find the ones that specialize in those areas.
Uh-huh.
Like I mentioned before, even the child entertainment lawyers, those
Right.
exist.
Right.
Entertainment lawyers, you wouldn't hire a criminal lawyer to do your entertainment law, just like you wouldn't hire me to do criminal law.
Uh-huh.
So be proactive with your needs. Think of these professionals as an investment that you're going to invest in little by little, right, until you get those big projects.
Exactly.
And if you'd like quick and helpful hints in the world of entertainment, you can check out my my LinkedIn. Find me on Joe D'Angelo.
I will add all
and-
your socials in the description below in the video,
Okay.
but
Great.
you can also mention them over here.
Yeah. So my firm website, lawpf.com. We're a mid-sized firm in New York, and we are a full-service law firm. I'm just one of many attorneys, but we like to keep a personal contact. Even if you're out of the country, we help with international law sometimes too.
That's amazing. That's
Um,
amazing.
you can check out my very, very new. You're gonna laugh because I see that you have thousands of followers. You've been doing this for a while. My Instagram is very new. I just started a few months ago, but I've posted a lot of little helpful hints for business law, entertainment law, copyright, and trademark law.
That's awesome.
So if
That's awesome.
you like little, quick reads, 20-second reads,
Yeah.
and I usually link longer articles. Take a look on there. That's at double JDIP.
Double
JD.
JDIP.
Yep, double JDIP is what I call
Right.
it. Yeah, and if you have any questions about my experience, I used to work for ESPN, NASCAR.
Wow.
I've been a movie extra actually.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
originally started out wanting to be
What
an actor
movie? What
myself.
movie?
So I was an extra in 3 of them, but only one of them actually made it. The 5-year engagement. If you look for my very pale face in the scene where a professor, it's a psychology lecture, you'll see me right in the frame.
Wow.
It's about, I think, like 10 or so minutes into the movie. I was also in a Star Wars movie,
Wow.
but it was in costume, so you couldn't tell it was me. But yeah,
I was
did a
also
little.
in Spider-Man, but it was the
Oh,
mask,
yeah?
so you wouldn't be able to tell.
Oh, okay. The voice, right? Sound a little more like Bane from Batman, but sure, I'll go with it.
That's true. That's true. More like
No,
Bane.
those really showed me the ins and outs of the entertainment industry in a small part.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you very much.
You had prepared so well that I did not even have to ask one question. You addressed everything. So thank you so much.
Well, lawyers love to hear themselves talk, so.
So thank you so much for preparing all this for us. I'd like to personally thank you from all of Screen Bench, and you're most welcome for any appearance or any venture, any thing that you start up and you want coverage from us. We're always there for you.
All right, great. Thank
Yeah.
you. And if you have any, quick legal questions, shoot them my way. I can't give direct answer, like, unless we get you under retainer,
Yeah.
of course. But maybe I can steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, I got $100 million stuck with a shake, Arab shake. He's not returning it.
Say it again?
He's not returning it. So
He's not returning the check?
yeah. So
Well, I hope it clears for you.
you can only hope. Can't you do anything?
That's right. Get the money. Like I said, get it in writing, right?
Yeah. Too bad I didn't write, huh? Just kidding.
All right,
just kidding.
Mohammed. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
I
so
hope we can do
much.
it again
No,
some
thank you
time.
so
Let me know
much.
if you have any other specific questions. If you wanted to dive into any of this.
I think
for-
this is enough for the audience and me to digest.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you so much for your preparation. I really appreciate it, and it was an amazing time talking to you. It was very insightful, very educative. What else, man? I'm really grateful for the for the homework that you've done specifically for our site, and keep visiting Screen Bench. If you most probably do a little bit of streaming, don't you?
I have done some streaming here and there, but you mean watching like Netflix? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Every night is my wind down period. So
Oh.
for sure, I've already got you on my favorites. I'll click
That's
in
awesome.
every so
That's
often.
awesome.
So when you see somebody from New York, think of me.
Uh-huh. My uncle lives in New York.
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, Yeah.
But thanks so much. I really appreciate you having me on there and reaching out to
Yeah.
the service. Let me know if you need anything else. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Good,
and thanks for
good.
making the time. I know this is very late for you.
No, it's completely fine for me. Thank you for taking the time because it's daytime and you must be busy with a lot of work. So,
Yeah,
thank you
no
for your
problem. I
time.
always like to help her out.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks. I'll talk to you.
Okay, bye bye.